It is June 23rd, 2024. I sure hope that this live doesn't buffer. Today it was better because the clouds were breaking up. You know, that full, thick horizon of cloud layer. But now it's back, and we have a thunderstorm possibly coming in a little while. So the buffering may come back, and if it does, I'll just end the live and we'll pick up tomorrow. That's all I can do. Hello, Troy McCulley and Oracle 11 and Jane Northrup and Patricia White and T. Lamb. Thank you. Heat Dome alive and kicking in North Carolina. Heat is unreal. It is unreal. Absolutely, T. Lamb. Cecilia Amarati, hello. Silent Walk. And Barb in Ohio, hello. Tonette, hello. And Dee Moore and Alicia DeMoss and Analog Synth Player and Justin Wynn. And Justin, I know that I've asked you this before, but I apologize. I cannot remember. You lost power for a bit. Where are you in this fabulous country of ours? Donna Davidson, hello. And Jane Northrup, I think I said hello. I don't know. Dee Moore, Andrew Cruz, and Marsha. Marsha's back. Oh, yeah, well, we'll get into that at some other point. Yeah, has nothing to do with your opinion on pit bulls but man, your disdain towards some subscribers and Christians. Again, Marsha, claiming that I hate Christians. It's gossip, and it's dangerous, and it influences other people. And you know it's a lie. It's a lie. But go ahead, lie. Even though in the Bible, very clear, short sentence from God, it says, lying is an abomination. Oh, well. Foothills, Agnes, Sandra, hello. James B., hello. Matrix exit. Yeah. May all people exit the Matrix. Mr. Steve Anderson, hello. So far, no buffering, but we're only 3 minutes in. Patricia White, I have that pulled up. Scotland Fire Logistics Warehouse in Linwood. Okay, and did I miss anybody? Jake M. Hello, Julie. Hello. I think rolling blackouts, Justin, are coming to all of us. I've never, ever, ever, in fact, I've said the opposite about Christians, and I've been doing this for 13 years. Doesn't matter, though. Whatever somebody has in their head, they cement it. I guess they think they're right or something. I don't know. But, no. In fact, Christians who abide by Jesus' teachings, I have profound respect for. I've had the only friend that I will say still love, is a Christian. So please, face the mirror. Oh boy, waiting on storm in Maryland. Almost every state in the Northeast has tornado watches. Anyway, let's look at radar. Let's first thank Sandra G. for your donation. Thank you very, very much. Christy H. Thank you very much. Inger O. Thank you very much. And yes, as always, Roberta K. Thank you very much. Donations are needed. I will put that right out there. They are very much appreciated. They are never taken for granted. Marsha, I don't know why you're so stuck on the pit bull thing, but hey, go for it. So here's radar. Yes. It is my well, we can only speculate. Nanobots activated, and there was a real long trail of these nanobots going into the Northeast for these storms. Nanobots activated as, you got it, the supercells. I call them supercell soldiers. There they are. Right? Right. So the tornado warnings, there are no tornado warnings, but wow, mainstream media was on it. Northeast, oh my God, dangerous, severe weather, tornado watches. But all of the tornado warnings that were issued today have expired, those in West Virginia and New Hampshire, Connecticut, New York, Vermont, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin. That was yesterday for Wisconsin. And they claim a tornado hit Wisconsin. The severe weather, let me refresh. Well, let me refresh this. Maybe we do have tornado warnings now. No, they all expired. Good. So we've got severe weather warnings. Severe weather warnings in Tennessee, in Connecticut, in West Virginia, in Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And I will link below. You can, if you're in any of these states and you've got weather above your head. Christy H., I thanked you for your donation, and I wanted to make sure you heard that. Thank you. The tornado severe weather alert page is in the chat. It's unfortunate that we have to live a time of manufactured weather warfare, but that is what we are living, and it's deadly, and it is causing an awful lot of suffering. So let us check it out, but I want to start with Dave Holly's video. What am I doing here? Okay. We're banned for uploading the truth. How dare anybody ban someone for uploading the truth? Well, this is what is taking place.
23rd of June, 2024. (3 p.m.) I haven't done a video for a while because I've been banned for a week from uploading YouTube, for uploading John O'Looney's footage at Open Minds Festival. He said it went against community guidelines when old John talked about was his experiences and his discoveries in his professional position. Banned from uploading the truth. imagine that.
And you notice how clouds never move anymore? They're stagnant. So, Iowa got hit far harder than I realized last night. Rock Valley, Iowa, and other places in Iowa. Houses, businesses, farms sitting under water. Sitting underwater. Look at this. It's up to the rooftops. Oh my God. Okay. Inundated with floodwaters. Not good. So many people are suffering. And it's every day, every friggin' day. Here, Spencer, Iowa. I can't play this. It's Live Storms Media. If you want to watch it, I'll put the link in the chat. I have more videos on Spencer and Rock Valley. And you think these people are suffering? Yes. Heavy rainfall leads to severe flooding across parts of Iowa. And there are places where it's only getting worse. Waterville, Henderson, St. Peter, Mankato. That's Minnesota. Okay, so this is Minnesota.
Today, I think the worst that we saw was in the city of Waterville, Minnesota, which is about 25 miles east of Mankato on Minnesota Highway 60. In Waterville, there are blocks upon city blocks that are completely underwater. You can see here that a lot of folks have been working hard to try to sandbag around their homes, but it is a struggle. I talked to a volunteer who came down from Bemidji, Minnesota, and said that there are a lot of cities who have loaned equipment and pumps. St. Cloud, I know that Crookston has sent some equipment to help as well, but these folks have a long road ahead. The lakes and the water in Waterville not expected to crest at least for another day or two. Another place, and this one is a familiar sight, Henderson on Minnesota Highway 19, once again flooded.
A lot of roads are closed, and Waterville battles largest flooding event in its history, and it's coming. It's getting higher and higher.
So fast, it's scary. It's a scary time. That feeling of feeling defeated starts to set in, and it's just a matter of, okay, what are we going to do next?
Members of the Waterville community are in a race against time as water levels continue to rise. They're leaving parts of that area unrecognizable tonight.
That's our top story tonight at 5. Here's a look at Sky Fox 9 of the flooding. Many homes in the area surrounded by water, with people using boats instead of cars to get around. Waterville is home to about 1,700 people.
The town nestled between two lakes and floodwaters are rising. Fox 9's Babs Santos is live in Waterville tonight. Babs, officials are working with FEMA now to bring in some help.
Because the flooding just continues to rise and rise. But already people are facing their homes. And just look at their homes. Oh my God. Okay. Thunder Acres. I'm going to post the link to this video, which was a very good video. And, well, very good. It's a devastating video. I get nervous when I don't know the person, because I don't want a copyright strike, but this is a very important video that needs to be circulated. Look at this flooding. And this is in Waterville.
We're in Waterville. Let me make it strictly clear that we are not joyriding today. We are not doing anything for Thunder Acres. We checked in with the police, or the fire chief of Waterville, the emergency center, and told him what we had, and he said to come down here, and he said drive around and see if people need help. So I repeat, we are not joyriding. We are instructed by the fire chief of Waterville to check on people if they need evacuation. So everybody out there, they need help, they need volunteers. Waterville is just, look at the disaster. We're in probably 3 feet of water right now with the SHRP. And yes, this is a street 3 feet below us. Send us a personal message and we will come out and help you. One thing the fire department did point out is to drive slow, because just the rippling of the payloaders bringing sandbags, and even the SHRP will take and put the sand, obviously they're at the sandbag height and then some. It'll actually splash over the sandbag or get into the house. So, slow and no wave, no wake is very important. We're coming into a new housing development. There's their lift station that we checked on with the firefighter to make sure that is still operating correctly. They don't want to lose the lift station.
That's a lot of homes underwater. 3 feet of water. Not raining. Not raining. This is Minnesota. Iowa and Minnesota got hit very hard with the flooding. With heavy rain and flash flooding, crews respond to swift water rescues. I'm not entirely... I thought this was Wisconsin. I think it is.
It's been a wild day with downed trees and high water. KGUN 9's Craig Smith shows us what it was like on a day during monsoon.
Just have a look at what we have going right here. This tree knocked down across 2 lanes worth of comb.
All right, monsoon. Are we talking Arizona? We did have pretty bad storms. Put in, well, when I put in this news site into the search bar, all I got were, it wasn't news, it was like gun stuff, gun-related stuff. So this might be Arizona.
Being chopped up and hauled away by city crews. And this is just a sample of the trouble monsoon brought to a lot of Midtown today. It was a 1-2 punch of wind and water. Usually dry washes like the Rito have been running again. Tucson firefighters rushed from one water rescue to the next, like this car stopped.
Tucson. Yeah. Okie dokie, Carol. Good job.
By high water at 5th and Saguaro, and this one at 1st and Alvernon. Firefighters say in just an hour and a half, they responded to 25 monsoon calls. 15 involved drivers or people stranded in high water. People without high water in the way could have found a tree blocking their path.
We started getting the calls about noon, and then they just started trickling in every 20 minutes, half hour. They just kept nonstop.
It was a thunderstorm. Why? Because it's monsoon season, I guess? They call it a monsoon? You guys in Arizona, speak up. Or forever hold your peace. Mankato, this is Minnesota.
The Minnesota River has swelled with rain as crews have been working to try and build a temporary levee. And hydrologists say this flooding will get worse in the coming days because more rain is coming. So Gordon asked them, what specifically are they looking for and what areas have them most concerned?
I've never seen anything like this.
Living near a river, flooding is always a few rainstorms away.
We wasn't expecting this much.
And this spring, we've had more than just a few.
Yeah, it has risen a lot.
Enough.
And it's affecting a lot of businesses, a lot of homes.
To put most of Cook, Minnesota underwater.
It's up to my knees at least.
And hydrologists say even more rain is coming.
We're seeing potential for some pretty major flooding coming up.
Craig Schmidt is a hydrologist with the National Weather Service. He says river communities could see even more flooding with several chances for rain over the next 48 hours.
The most concerned in terms of river flooding now would be the Crow River Basin and pretty much the Minnesota Basin and the tributaries leading into it. So we could be looking at the Cottonwood, the Redwood.
Schmidt says last year's drought is helping because the ground was dry enough to take on most of this water, but that help has run out.
Until the last 2 weeks, we still had some room in there, but with the rainfall that we've had over the last week, we have pretty much saturated the soils now. And so because of that, there's really no more room for them.
No more room. Drainage systems stop working. No more room. Too much saturation. Oh, wow. Okay. Church destroyed during storms. This, I believe, oh man, why do I even bother to look when I can't remember? I think it's Wisconsin.
It was an intense night for most of us in southern Wisconsin as severe storms rolled through the area for hours. This video was sent to us by Gina from DeForest, and that area had a tornado warning tonight, as did many others. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Madison Rios. Grace Hodek is off tonight. Breaking news tonight, as many of you are seeing significant damage after round of storms slammed southern Wisconsin. Let's send us these pictures tell us this is where Apple Grove Lutheran Church was.
Oh, this is great. Oh, let's see if it works. Will it work? Oh, thank you, YouTube.
It was an intense night for most of us. And on the right is the site.
Okay, so the church was literally, this is the church, and it was, wow, hit hard. Hit very hard because it's, well, scattered. Wisconsin.
With how some people had to run to their basements this off to get cover.
Yeah, Suzanne, that's right. Scary moments just after those tornado sirens went off. And you just saw Kylie showing the areas impacted. We know a lot of cleanup is ahead for our neighbors just on the other side of the state line in Wisconsin. The damage is widespread and crews are still working to get some roadways cleared. We'll show you videos that came in overnight. You'll see massive trees down.
This tree, you can see, even decide that there's a hollowness in this tree.
You'll see massive trees down blocking roads. Crews already out in the middle of the night. You can see and hear them there. Many homes seeing structural damage, outdoor furniture and debris now laying across people's yards and in their front yards, as you see there. Damaging winds reported in Williams Bay, Wisconsin, also near Kenosha, where we saw firefighters going door to door checking.
Wisconsin.
Monday, we see it in the upper.
Okay, yeah, they're just going to continue. Look, all of New Hampshire was under a tornado watch. The entire state under a tornado watch. Issued for the entire state of New Hampshire. Yeah, because New Hampshire is known, for its tornadoes. But again, when man is controlling weather, man can bring that weather anywhere. How about New England?
To Napa here, tracking the severe threat. Thunderstorms, even a few isolated tornadoes, damaging wind, large hail, flash flooding. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. Right now, tornado warning up. This is back towards Vermont here. Not in New Hampshire or Maine just yet, but this stuff is pushing east here. Take a look over here. Tornado watch up. This is until 8 o'clock. Western Maine, the Oxford Hills, Oxford County, all the way back down to Casco Bay, Portland, the greater Portland area, back towards New Hampshire, the White Mountains here, the southern coast, the seacoast, okay, through 8 o'clock. So I'm going to break it down behind the scenes so I can show you what's going on in the atmosphere. Let's get right to it. We have stable air in the atmosphere right now.
Well, if you want to hear what he has to say, the link is in the chat. But of course, these meteorologists follow their script. Unfortunately, they're doing an awful lot of danger. Awful lot. They carry danger. New tropical depression may form in the Gulf. Another one. I think we're going to be seeing this a lot. A whole lot. So we just got off of Alberto, and now, new tropical depression, which could be a tropical storm. What we're watching, Gulf of Mexico, southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Here, Brownsville. And this was, well, let me first do this. Shall I? Yes. Climate engineering off U.S. coast could increase heat waves in Europe. Yeah, okay. So they only talk about regional use of marine cloud brightening that could have a negative impact elsewhere. Oh, don't we know that they have an awful lot of methods with this climate engineering, but they keep talking about regional use of climate engineering, and we know that this is taking place all over the world. A geoengineering technique designed to reduce high temperatures in California could inadvertently intensify heat waves in Europe. According to a study that models the unintended consequences of regional tinkering with climate change. Well, this means that there's geoengineering taking place. Why can't people believe when we talk about the geoengineering and we're called conspiracy theorists? Paper shows that targeted interventions to lower temperature in one area for one season might bring temporary benefits to some populations, but this has to be set against potentially negative side effects in other parts of the world and shifting degrees of effectiveness over time. Well, that's true when they create the clouds to bring about massive rainfalls and drought in other parts of the region or the world. Authors of the study said the findings were scary because the world has few or no regulations in place to prevent regional applications of the technique, marine cloud brightening, which involves spraying reflective aerosols, usually in the form of sea salt or sea spray. Oh, no big deal. It's only sea salt or sea spray. You see how they do it? Into stratocumulus clouds over the ocean to reflect more solar radiation back into space. There's a paucity of controls. I will put the link in if you want to read more about this, but it is a very controlled piece on climate geoengineering. Did I miss anything? So, Scotland, Glasgow. Wow. So, this happened just a little while ago. That looks like a lot of very toxic smoke. So, firefighters tackling a blaze at an industrial estate near Paisley in Renfrewshire. Residents called the emergency services at about, well, that would be 9 o'clock on Sunday after hearing loud explosions. 10 fire appliances were understood to be in attendance. Large plume of smoke could be seen drifting from the site towards the north of Glasgow. And the industrial area is less than 4 miles from Glasgow Airport. Okay, so this is what one person in the area said. Then there was about 30 minutes of just near continuous explosions. It did sound like guns going off or fireworks or something like that. But when I was trying to find this story, massive fire at a battery recycling plant, also in Scotland, 2 months ago. And you've had a lot of these recycling plant explosions in Scotland. And this fire is very close to homes. Well, if you do some research, you'll find recycling plant. 2 months ago, a year ago. What is are they doing this to recycling plants because it's so toxic, and they're wanting a whole lot of this toxic smoke to be affecting people? I don't know, but I think it's kind of weird that recycling plants are exploding, not just in Scotland, but also here, probably in other countries. All right, very important, very interesting video here, into thin air. Link is in the chat.
Everybody, welcome back. June 23rd, 2024. I hope you're all having a good end of your weekend. Take a look at what is down right next to where we see the Antarctic anomaly and Boivay Island. This is the equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane, except it's in the southern Atlantic Ocean between Antarctica and Africa. This is absolutely insane. If we zoom out here, look at how this stands out compared to the rest of the world when it comes to air pressure. Now, this is very important. This is measured in INHG. That is a mercury measurement, and this was down to 27.1. You can see 27.6 right there on your screen. And for those of you wondering, yes, this is exactly where the Antarctic anomaly comes from. We have Boivay Island right down here, exactly where the beginning of this anomaly begins. We've also seen it begin down off the coast of Antarctica. This is not some creature or a volcano. This is a frequency technology. I can't stress this enough. I've seen thousands of videos now talking about this creature floating around in the ocean. That is not happening. This is a frequency pulse technology used for many different things. And that is the reason we are where we are right now, and why these weird things, large earthquakes, these now Cat 5 hurricanes, are taking place in between southern Africa and the coast of Antarctica. Now, there's something very, very weird with this situation here. Now, again, as I told you, the pressure we're seeing here is equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane. And this is how I know that. When you take that reading, which is in inches of mercury, which is how they measure that pressure, and you convert it into millibars, that is 920 millibars. And what do you know, my friends, when you go down and look at what 920 millibars and lower is equivalent to, you're looking at a Category 5 hurricane of wind speeds of 157 miles an hour or greater. That is absolutely insane to see down in this part of the world. Of course.
Wow, that affected the audio. All right, I'm going to put the link in again. And anomalies are all over, and anomalies, well, they're common. Anomalies are common today. All right, I'm going to play a few minutes of Brush Junkies. She's doing another analysis, except with the Reduso fire in New Mexico.
I'm not sure, but if you want to, notice that, please feel free. It just looks like the, like the green on the trees and things are very dulled out to like a grayish.
Right here, she's done editing, so she's talking about how a lot of the videos coming out showing this fire and the area, she feels that they have filtered the colors. She's not entirely sure, but that's what, she was talking about. Okay.
Tone. But something that is so obvious here is the structures are gone, but the trees, for the most part, are still standing. There are some logs on the ground, but it does seem like the structures were targeted and everything else is kind of left alone. And that is really scary because it's almost like they didn't care if there was suggestive, if they left evidence that this was a directed energy device that did this. But I'll let you guys see it for yourself.
You can see the metal frame of the mobile home is bent and warped as if it was softened to the point of almost melting.
But yeah, look at how many trees are still standing. So you would think like a forest fire would have taken out most, if not all, of those trees.
And you notice the white ash footprint with only brick and steel basically remaining. And that looks just like paradise with the white ash right next to the unburnt trees.
And see how the structures are gone, but like the trees in between are still there. And I feel like we should see more green, you know, being that it's June.
Right. I think this is like a tinted video. You can see some of those trees are intact. Yeah, those trees look fine.
And the trees on the other side are fine as well. So where did the fire come from? Maybe there wasn't even a fire. Look at all of these trees. These trees, fine. But this brought to dust? Okay. I'm going to put the link in again. They go on with their analysis of this fire in New Mexico. It just continues and continues. And you would hope that people would begin, yes, to act like adults and to just have conversations with people who are questioning these fires, questioning the flooding, questioning the baseball or softball size hail, questioning, you know, and instead it's like you're talking to somebody in junior high school and you say, and they just strike out at you. With great hostility, they defend their right to be willfully ignorant. China has been hit really hard.
Devastating floods ravaged southern China in June 2024. Heavy rains and extreme weather events have wreaked havoc across southern China in June 2024, triggering widespread flooding that has caused significant damage and loss of life.
So many people died with this flood, and it is really bad. I'm putting the link in. I've recommended that you subscribe to these channels, Undersphere, that do a good job on capturing the weather fallout, the weather destruction that goes on all over the world. Here's another one, Revenge of Nature. The link is in the chat, and Switzerland got hit hard as well.
A devastating flood has hit the Swiss Alps. Heavy rains and melting snow caused catastrophic flooding in Switzerland on June 21, 2024. In Zermatt, the Motor-Wisp River flooded the city center.
It just goes on, right? It just goes on and on. Firefighters battling wildfire north of San Francisco. Boy, fires are just erupting everywhere, huh? Mass shooting in Columbus, Ohio. I did not pull up an awful lot of videos just today of all of the shootings and the murder-suicides and the stabbings that are taking place. I am going to lessen that. If you haven't gotten that in your head that, oh boy, are things getting really violent in our country. And considering how many illegal migrants are in our country, and if you're not doing that work to hardwire awareness of your surroundings at all times, that's what, when it's hardwired after practice, you don't have to practice, and it's just there. And that is very important to survival. But I came across this today. I didn't even play this video. I was like, oh, another mass shooting. 10 people shot, suspect on the run.
Good morning, and thank you so much for waking up with us here on Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine, waking up with you on this Sunday morning. It is June 23rd, and at this hour, we are following breaking news. This coming from our content partners over at Fox News Edge. They are reporting multiple people, including 2 teenagers, are injured after a shooting in the Short North Arts District early Sunday morning. They're getting this report from the Columbus Division of Police. And just to provide some context for you, the Short North Arts District, that's near downtown Columbus, Ohio. The Columbus Police Sergeant Joe Albert saying officers...
I'll post the link if any of you want to watch this, but can't go a day without a mass shooting, right? And yeah, man drowns in Harlem River in front of friend. People are drowning in rivers, drowning in lakes. A couple died from riptides in Florida, leaving behind 6 children. What's going on? 1 dead, 3 injured in shooting at Tampa Holiday Inn.
All right, so here.
Wonder if this is a migrant hotel.
Here's what we know at this point. Around 4:40 this morning, we received. All right, so here's what we know at this point. Around 4:40 this morning, we received a 911 call about a shooting that happened here in the parking lot behind me on McKinley and Fowler. What we have learned, and again, this is all very early in the investigation, is that 2 cars were shot at. 4 people were shot in total as a result of this. 3 of them were transported to hospitals, and 1 was pronounced deceased here on the scene. So we are working to learn what led up to the shooting, motive. You can see behind me a lot of officers are here. They are talking with witnesses. They are looking for video as it pertains to the shooting. As far as the people that are at local hospitals, we are working to get an update on their condition. It seems like they will survive their injuries, but again, that's very early in the...
I'll post the link if you want to listen to this to find out if they mention anything about the suspect. Clearly, they don't have much information about it, but yeah, this is going on all over. Stabbing brawl at Randall's Island migrant shelter in New York.
On Randall's Island overnight at the migrant shelter there, the fight ending with a person stabbed. Fox 5's Stephanie Bertini is live right now on location with the latest with what police are telling us about what happened. Steph.
Arthur, good evening. According to the NYPD, a male migrant was stabbed in the shoulder and taken to a nearby hospital. There's a police presence here on Randall's Island today. Yesterday, a lot of cops responded. Chaos and a heavy police presence at the migrant shelter on Randall's Island. Just before 8 p.m. on Friday, the NYPD responded to a call. Detectives say it started as a fight and escalated to a stabbing. A 25-year-old male victim was taken to a hospital and 2 men were taken into custody. A lot of people on one side and then on the other side, people, they were running, says this man, a migrant from Ecuador who lives at the shelter. What happened yesterday is very bad for us, he says, adding, not just a problem with us, but the help they are giving us from one moment to another, they could cut it, he says. The NYPD arrested 19-year-old Josue de Leon and 27-year-old Mosices de Leon. Both of them live at the shelter, and police have not said if they're related, as they both have the same last name. As for the victim, police say he was stabbed in the shoulder, and the injuries are non-life-threatening.
But if we had law enforcement that actually enforced immigration law, we wouldn't be seeing any of this. Fire at Lodi Walmart forces customers to evacuate. Sacramento in California. Fires, fires, fires.
Started on the roof, forcing customers and employees to evacuate. Happened at the Walmart on Kettleman Lane. One person was treated for smoke inhalation. Crews say there are solar panels and AC units on the roof, but it's unclear if that had anything to do with the fire.
Maybe the solar panels, because they can't take
fire
the heat.
official.
Like EV vehicles, they're just exploding. Deadly stabbing at Culver City Carnival.
A stabbing at a carnival in Culver City.
NBC4's Julia Dang is up at News Chopper 4 tonight with more details on this. Julia, what do we know?
Hey there, Jonathan. Tragedy tonight at this fair. This pop-up carnival here in Culver City now shut down. You can see these Culver City police units here at the intersection of Overland and Venice. I'm going to pan the camera east 1 block. This is along Venice Boulevard at Keystone. You can see this one.
If you need to hear more, the link is in the chat. I don't. I mean, this is wow. It's just a wow. What has happened to our country? Homeowner. A Marine entered home and said, arm yourself. Well, he entered 2 homes. And you have to wonder, targeted individual?
This is Ricardo Perez Castillo graduating as a Marine recruiter in San Diego last summer. Fast forward less than a year to downtown Rockford, where police say the 24-year-old Marine was spotted Friday night amid the city's annual start of summer celebration. Rockford PD confirmed that Perez Castillo had been drinking in the hours before he walked unsteadily through the unlocked side door of a home a little more than a half-mile from downtown. It was around 2:10 Saturday morning, and a homeowner here on Oak Street was cleaning up after he and his wife had hosted friends for dinner. He told me he walked into his kitchen and found a man standing at his sink. The homeowner did not want to go on camera, but he did share with me his interaction with Perez Castillo. The homeowner said the Marine did not seem threatening at the time and did not answer when asked who he was and why he was in his home. When asked to leave, the resident said the Marine did so without argument, but stopped at the door. When he again asked Perez Castillo what was going on, the homeowner said the Marine, spewing profanities, said he didn't know what was going on. He then warned the Oak Street resident to be safe, be careful, and arm himself. That's when the homeowner said he slammed the door and called police, who responded immediately with canines and drones, but couldn't have known where Perez Castillo would allegedly hit next, less than a mile to the southwest. Less than an hour after that first incident, shortly before 3 a.m., Kent County deputies were called to a home in the River Bluff subdivision here off Jericho Avenue. Police said Perez Castillo had walked into a home and into a bedroom where two young girls slept and stabbed one of those girls. The girl's screams awakened a homeowner who was able to hold Perez Castillo at gunpoint until...
Yeah, this man looks like he's a psychopathic killer. No, he does not. No, he does not. Okay, can they, especially with our military, can they bring about this behavior in someone who, without, let's say, electromagnetic frequencies or whatever else that they have implanted in this man, could they bring about this kind of behavior? Absolutely, 100%. We know it. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that, especially our soldiers, they can be controlled remotely. Is she okay? AOC loses it at a Bronx rally. Yeah. But listen to what AOC says, which is really bizarre.
Insanity. Earlier today, bartender turned Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a couple of other far-left Democrats held a rally in the Bronx. I don't know, perhaps they were inspired by the huge crowd that Donald Trump got there a couple of weeks ago, but the Democrats' rally, sadly, in what should be Democrat heartland, only had a few hundred in attendance, and they were treated to this absolute cringe fest. Now, just watch this and ask yourself, is AOC okay? She got her hands on whatever cocktail of drugs they gifted Biden before any major speech. She doesn't seem okay to me, and it only got worse when she spoke. Guys, I don't think AOC actually realises that the Democrats are in power right now, because she wants to win the country back. And then she goes full ghetto, then she goes a bit country. Watch this private school educated daughter of an architect patronise the locals. I love the hair work. That's excellent. She wants.
So, are you ready to take the country back? From whom? The Democrats are in control. But all of that is just to whip up, unfortunately, an awful lot of the young who are so enthralled with celebrity. Celebrity. She's an actress. She's a celebrity. She does. She has been rated the worst representative in Congress. Okay. Yay, yay, yay. Let's take this country back. You're the one in power, though. Okay. Take it back from you? Hey, sweetheart. I guess, maybe, right? All right, we're going to do this, and this war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing, and don't you know it? But it makes an awful lot of money for the military-industrial complex, and an awful lot of people in Congress. You know, they pad their pockets and vote on more killing. We want to see more killing. We want to see more destruction, more killing. Yay! Ukraine launches missile attacks into Crimea, and yeah, Joe, the West, granted permission to shoot those missiles into Russian territory, and that was after Putin said, don't do it. Yay, isn't this wonderful? The boys and their toys. Well, it's not boys, it's girls and boys. The New York Times even admits that Zelensky's government crushes press freedoms in Ukraine. I support Ukraine. Oh my God, Russia is going to take over the world. I support the Nazis. I support Ukraine that is turning their country into a tyranny. I support it. I'm for Ukraine. A whole lot of Americans are still right there. That's unfortunate. Journalists and media groups have come under intense pressure from the Kiev region, including spying and other forms of persecution during Ukraine's war with Russia. That's according to the New York Times. Reporters have been spied on and even presented with draft notices after exposing media restrictions imposed by Zelensky and his government, in addition to Zelensky calling off elections and staying in power well past the end of his term. This is more evidence that Kiev is not the democratic bastion its Western military backers claim it is. I'll put the link in if you want to read more. Probably none of you do. I didn't read any more. We don't need any more information to know that we are on the wrong side of history. Yes, we are. Live fire incident. Casualties reported after North Korean soldiers crossed military demarcation line. There's a lot going on. North Korea, South Korea, and, well, like Taiwan, are we going to come to South Korea's defense? Probably. Oh. Here, South Korea's top diplomat comments on Russia's alliance with North Korea. And I'm sure a lot of you know that days ago, Putin went to visit Kim Jong-un. And yes, they now have an alliance. And mainstream media is on it. Oh, the axis of evil is back. Oh, it never went anywhere. The axis of evil is US, UK, Israel. But a whole lot of these countries are gaining power They gain power when they stand together against the real evil. Isn't that interesting? Standing together, you gain power. Yeah. I'm not even going to play it if you want to listen to what the top diplomat in South Korea has to say, but of course, you know, what he had to say is we're taking this very seriously. And, well, Yemen is having, the Houthis in Yemen are having a lot of success blowing up ships in the Red Sea. Houthis released dramatic video of bulk carrier being blown apart in Red Sea. And this was last week, so this was open for a while. I'm just trying to, because I think things are important. Yeah, I do. I really think that a whole lot of what is going on is important. So I actually keep it open. And I haven't gone to this window because I'm just... Israel, Gaza. And I just have to stay away from the chat and not read the comments. But anyway, here we go. This is the Houthis blowing up a ship, a tanker, bulk carrier, can't even remember. But the Houthi said, we will do this for any ship that is still engaged with Israel and bringing products to Israel. The attack on Tudor. A drone boat. Oh, I thought that was the Statue of Liberty. Okay, Carol. War, and thank God for social media platforms, because now we get to see a whole lot of what is being posted. Yay! Argentina politics, criticism over government's handling of dissent.
They have been waiting for news of their relatives for 2 days and have come to this court in Buenos Aires to find out where they are. Leonardo Campos' husband, Ramon, his daughter and granddaughter were detained last Wednesday during violence that happened while Congress debated President Javier Milei's economic reform bill, a landmark document with more than 200 proposed laws. The family says they were selling empanadas, a typical local food on the street. The three of them were taken by police.
We tried to pick up our things when the chaos started. My husband and my daughter started walking with their hands in the air so they wouldn't get shot. The police threw him on the ground. My daughter and granddaughter tried to help him, but they were all detained.
At least 34 people were detained during the protests and the confrontation that followed. And while some of them were involved in violent acts, many others were not. Those arrested face accusations of insurrection and terrorism. The government says Wednesday's protests are part of a plan to get Javier Milei out of office.
What happened is a coup, as far as it's understood in the 21st century. They want to weaken the government so it loses strength.
The Senate has now narrowly approved the bill. Since taking office, Milei has imposed a new security protocol on the streets. People are not allowed to block the roads. This has increased tension with political organizations who want to protest against the government.
Javier Milei is implementing a harsh austerity plan that has left-wing groups
and other movements on the streets. The government has already shown zero tolerance with these groups, and that's why human rights organizations are extremely concerned about how this government handles dissent.
Nelly Minierski has been fighting for human rights all her life. She's a lawyer who challenged the military during the dictatorship in the 1970s and 80s.
To compare a protest with a coup, to have a prosecutor investigating it, and to have so many innocent people arrested shows us that our democracy is at risk.
Oh, comparing a protest with a coup. It's an insurrection. So Milley is really kind of taking the script from Pelosi. Wow. Well, it will be a much angrier world. And sure enough, it is. This is going to truly blow your mind. Every Taliban member who died during the war with us, the U.S. government is paying them a stipend.
The $40 million a week that comes on the airplane and comes into Afghanistan. The amount of money on the plane weekly is $43 million to $87 million. But one thing I want Americans to understand is in that bucket of the $40 million we send each week, we are paying basically welfare to the Taliban martyrs' families. So every Taliban member who died during the war with us, the U.S. government is paying them a stipend, the family. So our families of Americans who died there aren't getting squat, but we are paying Taliban families for basically dying while attacking us. We're funding that.
This is just enraging.
And, you know, I asked a couple of people that question straight out, like, do you not think this is not ethically correct? And actually, one person gave me an answer of, well, it'll stop them from joining ISIS. I'm like, the Taliban guy's already dead. They give you these bullshit excuses as to why they're funding our enemies and not paying attention to the fucking money. The $40 million a week that comes on.
This is what happens when a people sit back and do nothing. We left Afghanistan and gave power to the Taliban. Why do you think we left all of our military equipment there? For the Taliban. We put them in the position of power. The Taliban is now recognized as no longer a terrorist organization, group. It's now just recognized as a legitimate party. After this statement, either Israel is held accountable for the crimes committed against Palestinians or the international law is dead. It's been dead. It has been dead for a very, very long time. U.S., Israel, UK apply international law to other countries, but not themselves.
In relation to Israel's military operations and attacks in Gaza from 7th October, we conclude that Israeli authorities are responsible for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and violations of international humanitarian and human rights law, including extermination, intentionally directing attacks against civilians and civilian objects, murder, or willful killing, using starvation as a method of war, forcible transfer, gender persecution targeting Palestinian men and boys, sexual and gender-based violence amounting to torture, and cruel or inhuman treatment. Israel's total siege of the Gaza Strip has weaponized the provision of life-sustaining necessities for strategic and political gains, including through cutting off supplies of water, food, electricity, fuel, and other essential supplies, including humanitarian assistance. It constitutes collective punishment, disproportionately impacting pregnant women, and persons with disabilities, and is causing grave harm to children, including starvation-related deaths. We found that the immense numbers of civilian casualties in Gaza and widespread destruction of civilian objects and infrastructure were the inevitable result of an intentional strategy to cause maximum damage, disregarding the legal obligations of distinction, proportionality, and adequate precautions. Israel also forcibly transferred almost the entire population into small enclosures that are unsafe and
But hey, believe the horseshit that you get from the U.S. government, that you get from Netanyahu and the Zionist government in Israel. Because they're telling the truth. And yeah, so Jimmy Dore posted this last week. This is what a real Biden campaign commercial would look like.
If Joe Biden had a truthful, actual campaign commercial that reflected his actions. So this it doesn't have everything in it, but what's in it is worth it. This is just one small snippet of a campaign. Yeah, here's the real campaign ad for #Genocide Joe.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
I think it's about time we stop apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make.
القذائف والصواريخ الأمريكية مصروف بدون USA شنو أمريكي
USA. Whether or not in Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel. We are America, second to none, and we own the finish line.
I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
My administration's support for Israel's security is rock solid and unwavering.
That pretty much sums it up. Can't separate out the United States from what is happening with what the IDF are doing, the Zionist government is doing in Israel. Can't separate it out. We're like this. So, a former bot farm operator explains how bots work. I'm a former tech employer. Okay. I can't even remember if this woman talks about Israel, but I will play another video where they do. But bots are all over, causing a whole lot of disruption and discord, causing an awful lot. This is why I get angry, yes, at subscribers for their lies. It influences people. You influence people with your lies. Isn't that what we're all upset about? Right? Okay. And she talks about how the bot farms work.
A former tech employee created and sustained a bot farm between 2015 and 2018. Give you guys some information because American bot farm operators are pretty rare. Most bot farms operate overseas. I don't know if there's anyone like me in the US that can tell you this stuff is all I'm saying. I'm typically way more secretive about this, but it's gotten so bad I need to talk about it. So what is a bot farm? Something that a company or an individual purchases. You get a set amount of bots that, like normal people, go out and spread your message. So here's the work that goes into that. I, as the operator, have have to create each individual fake person. I have to create a bio, I have to create a picture, a username, a real name. Then I have to generate content. It has to be supportive of the message that the client is paying for, positive opinion of the company or the individual. If anyone has ever tried to create content, that takes time and it also takes ideas. It's not easy. Finally, you need to program those bots based on activity. Bots respond to what you do. You think that you going around and liking things is invisible. It's not. You're leaving a footprint across the app. That footprint is tracked by people like me. So based on what other people like or comment on, I program my bot to go and search for those people, find them, and then interact with them with my content that supports the message that I've created. This programming also includes research to find the people that are the most susceptible to believing the message that you're selling and targeting those people. This is just a scratch on the surface of like what it takes to program one of these, and people are buying hundreds of them. Now here's the interesting part. The software to run all those bots is not free, and the time that it takes to create all the things that I just told you about, also not free. All of this stuff costs money, and it represents money when you see it. If you're seeing non-stop videos posted with a certain agenda, someone's paying for that. So when you see a dump of ton of media that's telling you all the same message, do not say, wow, what a thing happening right now. Please instead say, wow, who's trying to buy my opinion on this topic?
Good ending. That's exactly right. Now, did she say that it's rare in this country? It is so friggin' not rare. Don't want to see his face. It is so not rare. Our army, they have thousands. Army, just one branch of the military, but they're in every branch of the military. Thousands sitting, creating profiles of fake people to cause what I just said, disruption, discord, and to sway opinion. Now, it's not just the U.S. military. I'm sure our government has them. NATO has them. I've posted videos on them. United Nations has them. Bot farms are big, and also big money. And you know, everything can be bought. You can buy subscribers. You can buy views. That's what I don't like about the cyber world, because you do not know who is who and what they're doing, and are they real and authentic, or are they buying their clout. Okay, so how does Israel employ a secret army to enforce Zionist narratives? On Wikipedia. Wikipedia, I think people still think that that's a good site. Now, it is for superficial information on a whole lot of topics, but you also have people who have been on Wikipedia for many, many, many, many years. And suddenly, because those people are countering the official narrative, the first sentence, they're conspiracy theorists.
Camp massacre, a variety of results will appear on your screen. But if you look closely at the right-hand side of your screen, Wikipedia is calling it a rescue operation. You might be wondering why a recent Israeli military attack that killed over 200 Palestinians in central Gaza's Nusayrat refugee camp is being described as a rescue operation. The answer lies in Wikipedia's status as the world's most read encyclopedia, one that's created and edited by global volunteers. And when it comes to Palestine, things are always convoluted. An editing war regarding the portrayal of the Nusayrat refugee camp massacre is underway among Wikipedia volunteers. On one side are pro-Israeli editors pushing out the Nusayrat rescue operation narrative with an aim to exonerate Israelis of the massacre, champion the Israeli army, and minimize Palestinian casualties. On the other side are the editors calling for the recognition of the event as an actual massacre. While one editor argues that the casualty count raises doubts about about the rescue operation, another editor responds by denying that a massacre even occurred. Controlling the pro-Palestine narrative on Wikipedia is not new, especially when it comes to Israel's practice of settler colonialism and its decades-long occupation involving the brutal and systematic oppression of Palestinians. The platform's global readership influences opinions worldwide on Israel's ongoing military offensive in Palestine's Gaza, which has already killed more than 37,000 people. Most of the talking points among moderators echo those of Hasbara, Israel's state-funded program devoted to shaping narratives, suppressing all negative commentary, and whitewashing its image. Take, for example, the term Israeli occupation, which is often changed to Israeli rule. Israel's Zionist groups have been conducting workshops and campaigns on Wikipedia for decades to rewrite Palestinian history. Influencing Wikipedia is a big deal for Israel's public diplomacy. In 2010, a course on Zionist editing for Wikipedia was launched by two Israeli groups. One of these groups was the Yesha Council, a Zionist settler group led by Israel's former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett.
We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature.
In 2008, a leaked email showed how Camera, a pro-Israeli group focused on the media, sought out a secret army of Wikipedia volunteers who could work as editors to influence the Israel-Palestine narrative, smear Palestinians, and impose Israel's agenda without being detected. Soon after, Wikipedia administrators imposed a lifetime ban on at least 5 moderators. In 2020, another pro-Israeli advocacy group called the Israel Group launched Wiki Israel, an initiative that doxes anti-Israel editors and takes steps to overcome what it claims is Wikipedia's bias. Amid rising disputes and online narrative wars, Wikipedia has devised a strategy to deal with contentious topics. In the case of the Israel-Palestine conflict, the arbitration Palestine-Israel article was developed in 2008 to create a code of conduct for volunteers. According to the rules, only users who've been registered with the site for at least 30 days and with a history of over 500 edits can work on Wikipedia page related to the Israel-Palestine conflict. An editor can revert an edit only once a day across all pages related to the conflict. Anyone found violating the rule is blocked from the site. Despite this, some editors continue promoting a skewed narrative of Israel's devastating assaults on Gaza. Wikipedia's description of the Nusayrat refugee camp massacre is just one example of the website's bias and demonstrates how alternative and sometimes wholly inaccurate Zionist narratives obscure and convolute actual facts.
Yes. And that's why I guess that we just have difficulty getting through to people because they believe the lies. And a whole lot of people actually do not want the truth. They want the lies. And, you know, I've been thinking about that for a whole long time. And I have to wonder if people want the lies, don't want the truth, because subconsciously they know that if they begin to recognize and acknowledge that, oh wow, there's a lot of lies out there, I have to wonder if that will open the door to their consciousness of recognizing the lie that they have lived. And that is way too painful. So, and for all of those who are outright liars, I don't even know what to do about those kinds of people. But we are brought up in a way that we're like set on a trajectory to live a pretense. And that is a very hard thing to unravel. And a whole lot of people just don't want to do it. So they just continue to, they don't want anything cracking the windows, opening the doors to their own lies, their pretense, what they've lived. All right, lying Zionists, oh God, Debbie Wasserman, they keep going at it. Even the New York Times came out and said, well, doesn't seem like there's much evidence of these rapes that's the Zionist narrative. The United Nations investigators have come out and said, we have not seen any evidence. And a lot of people say, it could have happened, but the liars maintain that there is video. They've seen video. You just have to believe them. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has been a known outright liar for her entire career. And she's still at it.
Major trigger warning because it's a lethal combo of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Dana Bash. But let's take a look at this clip.
There was sexual and gender-based violence that occurred on October 7th, that Hamas uses it as a weapon of war, and that any organization, either international or domestic, that denies it is essentially allowing the commission of acts of violence again and again. There can't be an exception for Jewish victims. There can't be an exception for Israelis. The idea...
A lot of people, Jews included, are getting really tired of that whole line of bullshit.
That it's Me Too unless you're a Jew is unacceptable. Used sexual violence and continues to use it as a weapon of war is violating women, Israeli women, and I hosted a forum with the second gentleman on Capitol Hill a few months ago, and the Israeli police came and showed us videos that were taken by Hamas terrorists themselves.
The Israeli ambassador, the UK ambassador to Israel, they're saying the exact same thing, but nobody else has seen these videos.
Themselves engaging in the kind of sexual violence that Cheryl's film shows, cutting off the breasts while raping their victims, and first-hand accounts from first responders, as well as others and Israelis who were hiding from Hamas terrorists.
This is what Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to say about sexual violence on October 7th. I'll carry images of sexual violence from 10/7 with me for the rest of my life. So that suggests that she saw those images, although, as we know, much like Joe Biden claimed to see images of atrocity, he did not. He lied about that 3 times. And then let's see what Dana Bash said about it. Debbie Wasserman Schultz joined me to shine a bright light on the sexual violence Hamas uses as a weapon of war, detailed in Sheryl Sandberg's documentary. Debbie Wasserman Schultz says denialism of that violence is outrageous, and we have to make sure that we knock it down. Now, this is not the first time that Dana Bash has lied about the sexual violence weaponized on October 7th. Let's take a look. This is from December. This is Dana Bash with Premila Jayapal.
15,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes, 3/4 of whom are women and children.
And it's horrible, but you don't see Israeli soldiers raping.
Well, Dana, I
Palestinian
think
women.
we're not.
That is such a perfect example of how this is used, right? It is used to justify what Israel is doing because there's a qualitative difference between the Palestinians,
That's right,
Hamas, and the Israelis who just don't do that. They just don't do that kind of
That's
violence.
right. But also Israelis are fully doing that.
Right.
They're fully raping Palestinian prisoners.
Right.
So,
yeah, but Dana Bash
I
doesn't
mean,
think
that's what.
No, and there is evidence that the Israeli soldiers are committing acts of sexual violence. So, yeah, it's... I don't like lying. I don't care who it is. I just don't like lying. Can you imagine what this world would be if we didn't have people lying? If even just the majority of people didn't lie. Can you imagine how great life could be? Lies, anybody who tells them is a destructive force in our world. And I am not just talking about government officials and mainstream media reporters and et cetera, et cetera. I am talking about ordinary people. It's really upsetting to see this with ordinary people, to experience it with ordinary people, because we are all being attacked. We need to come together and be trustworthy and strong for one another, not attack one another, not lie about other people and gossip and I mean, we need one another. So all of the people who are lying, the ordinary people, are just like the mainstream media reporters. They're just like the government officials. All lies are destructive. Remember, Bible, God, lying is an abomination. Warning, Israeli forces strap Palestinian to jeep during raid. This is the most moral military in the world.
The Israeli military says it's investigating an incident where Israeli soldiers strapped a wounded Palestinian detainee to the hood of a military vehicle. It happened during an arrest raid in the occupied West Bank city of Jenin on Saturday and was captured on video verified by Reuters. It shows the vehicle passing through two ambulances with Palestinian resident Mujahid Azmi on top. Eyewitness Rafat Azmi.
This is my cousin Mujahid. He was wounded and stayed here for about 2 to 3 hours. We were sitting here and he was wounded in there. They put him on the hood of the Jeep and then we were told that they handed him over to the governmental hospital.
The Israeli military in a statement said Israeli forces were fired at and exchanged fire, wounding a
Boy, these cars look like the cars in our fires, the wildfires that never get... Wildfires are not very hot. All right, well, at least bombs could explain this, but the wildfires, well, there's a little bit of difficulty there. But yeah, all right, so we have seen enough to know that if Israeli soldiers are going to strap an injured Palestinian to the roof or the hood of one of their military vehicles, drive him around and not bring him to the hospital for hours, something is very wrong. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I think you need to look in the mirror, sweetheart. And here again, the most, and I have to always preface, American soldiers are no better. UK soldiers, no better. Australian soldiers, no better. Something about military that gets people programmed to believe that who they're fighting for freedom, fighting against, for our freedom, they so program them into believing that they're the enemy and that they're just subhuman and that they can treat them any way they want. A big reminder is Abu Ghraib.
Çekti, silahın ucuyla vurdu. Muhtemelen, evet. Müdahaleler tam olarak böyle oluyor değerli izleyenler. Bakın silahın tekini çekti. Vur beni dedi. Arkasını döndü gazeteci. Boğazını sıktı ve yere yatırdı. Görmüş olduğunuz gibi çok sert müdahaleler var. Çok sert müdahaleler var. Çok sert müdahaleler var. İşte gazeteci, Müslüman, sivil ayırt etmeksizin buna benzer silahın ucuyla çok sert vurdu. Halil geri çek. Halil geri gel. Halil geri gel. Gel Halil. Okay, calm down. Okay. Okey. Şu an silahın tetiğini bile bize doğrultmaya başladı. Şu an sağlıkçılar geldi. Ne yazık ki çok üzülerek söylüyorum ki.
It is not a defense force. It is an occupying force. Here, Israeli police beat man in front of his child. You know, these Palestinians, they're unarmed, and we see this over and over and over again with the IDF soldiers beating the crap out of Palestinians who are not doing anything.
Turning overseas, the war in the Middle East is showing no signs of letting up. At least 39 people were killed on Saturday by Israeli strikes across northern Gaza, according to Palestinian and hospital officials there. Meantime, thousands of fighters from Iran-backed groups in the Middle East say they're ready to come to Lebanon to join Hezbollah in its battle against Israel if a wider war breaks out.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Can't believe that this guy is still going on. So, Holocaust scholar Roz Siegel loses job offer for saying Israel is committing genocide. A whole lot of people are suffering the consequences for speaking the truth.
8 months ago, the Israeli-American historian became one of the first scholars to accuse Israel of committing genocide in Gaza. Professor Siegel laid out his case in a widely read article for Jewish Currents, headlined, "A Textbook Case of Genocide." The piece's subtitle was, "Israel has been explicit about what it's carrying out in Gaza. Why isn't the world listening?" Professor Siegel went on to give numerous interviews, including to us on Democracy Now!
We need to recognize what's...
Okay, I will post the link. For the interview if you want to watch it, but I mean, so much. Oh my God. When you see an obvious genocide taking place and it goes on and on and on and on and never stops, you know that the world's people have to come together to put an end to it. But they have to care. My mom, how can I live without my mom? She was the last of my family. I want to die. And boy, I have never in my life seen the amount of opposition to Israeli officials like I am seeing now. I've never seen so many Jews come out against what the Zionist government is doing in Israel. Never. And we need more and more and more.
يمثل أخطر أنواع الإرهاب وهو إرهاب الدولة. هذا ما يمثل.
All right, so I guess I should set this up. This is the Kuwaiti ambassador, United Nations, speaking to the Israeli ambassador, and the subtitles are just below.
يمثل أخطر أنواع الإرهاب وهو إرهاب الدولة. هذا ما يمثله هذا الغاصب، وأنا أقول له في هذه الثواني لم تستح فافعل ما شئت، تحمل حقائبك وتخرج من هذه القاعة بعد أن رأيت ردة الفعل من كل البرلمانات الشريفة بالعالم. اخرج الآن من القاعة إن كان لديك ذرة من الكرامة. يا محتل، يا قتلة الأطفال. يمثل أخطر أنواع.
This is what is needed. Need an awful lot of people who are not afraid to oppose and to say, get out of here. You know, essentially he's saying the Israeli ambassador is not honorable, get out of here. We need an awful lot more people. UN accuses Israeli military of carrying out extermination.
Israel's relentless bombardment of the blockaded Gaza Strip persists, with casualties continuing to mount. As children were sleeping in Al-Mawazi's so-called humanitarian zone, fires broke out as Israeli forces bombed tents, killing several.
Is there a safe place in the Gaza Strip? We were safe in Rafah. Here we are displaced, and our homes and children are gone. Is there a safe place? There is no safe place in Gaza. Human life has become as cheap as possible.
Here in a hospital bed in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza Strip, 10-year-old Hanan suffers from extreme facial burns from Israeli shells and struggles to move her mouth as she speaks.
I want to get treated and for my face to heal and to return to what I was like before and for my body to heal. And I want to get dressed and walk and to receive treatment. I wish I could play again with my friends and siblings. I miss my siblings.
With children accounting for the majority of casualties and deaths in Gaza since the onslaught broke out on October the 7th, Europe has a duty to open its doors to those children affected, according to the Greek foreign minister.
We have offered ourselves to host injured people from Palestine, but also children from Palestine to come to Europe and stay here until the war is over.
Despite targeted attacks on civilians continuing and an ICJ order for the UN to enter the region, access is still denied. It comes as a new report by a UN-backed independent commission has found Israel's authorities are responsible for war crimes.
In relation to Israel's military operations and attacks in Gaza from 7th October, we conclude that Israeli authorities are responsible for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and violations of international humanitarian and human rights law.
With Israel repeatedly ignoring and dismissing previous UN resolutions and reports, it shows no signs of stopping its deadly onslaught in Gaza. Shadia Edwards-Dashti, TRT World.
What is going on? Not surprised it won't load. What it was a picture of an awful lot of children, bloodied and dead. Children. Young children. Piers Morgan humiliated by John Mearsheimer for being duped by American propaganda. I'm going to play this, but I'm going to put the link in because I'm just going to play a few minutes. And what other things do I have? I didn't get into the insistence of people who just insist on continuing to lie. I lost my cursor. I lost my mouse. Hang on. It's back. Oh, look how many Israelis are protesting the government in Tel Aviv.
את המשפחות שלהם.
Especially for the Western. And I consider Israel to be a Western country. The people versus the government. And we're seeing, the protest here, government, law enforcement coming down on the protesters. We're seeing it in Israel. We see it in the UK. We see it all over the place. It's unfortunate. But let me just play a few minutes of this, and then I will end the live stream. And here we go.
I thought throwing the country back to the Taliban was a catastrophic error of judgment, and it wouldn't have happened in the way it's happened if America kept a couple of thousand troops there, as it does all around the world in endless bases. So it seemed to me, having done many, many years of hard work in Afghanistan as a response to 9/11, to then simply just overnight throw everybody out and leave the country to the Taliban, particularly for women's rights, never mind anything else, I thought was an abrogation of America's duty, and the UK.
Right, but this is your worldview, which is the United States has a responsibility to be everywhere and
Not
to
everywhere,
never quit until
but
it
it should
wins.
certainly be preserving freedom and democracy. Otherwise, why self-style yourself as leader of the free world? You either are leader of the free world, and America still has, I think, half the world's military firepower, and obviously one of the biggest economies. You either are that entity, leader of the free world, or you're not. And if you are, then what comes with that is a responsibility to protect freedom and democracy when it comes under attack from totalitarian regimes, I would think.
I think if you look at the history of American foreign policy, it's very hard to make the case that our principal goal has been to protect freedom and democracy. The United States has a rich history of overthrowing democracies around the world, and we have a rich history of siding with some of the world's biggest dictators. So this idea that we're out there protecting freedom and democracy and it's our principal goal, in my opinion, doesn't mesh with reality.
What is the thing that is motivating the United States and other Western powers? I mean, for people who aren't familiar with your work and with political realism.
I think there's no question that during the unipolar moment, and this runs from roughly 1991 when the Soviet Union collapses until about 2017 when we morph into a multipolar world. But during the unipolar moment where the United States was incredibly powerful, we pursued a liberal policy. This is the policy that Piers was describing. Piers has the mentality that most people have in the West about what the United States should do in the world. He thinks that we have a responsibility and we have a right to run around the world and interfere in the domestic politics of every country on the planet. He believes that we should reshape the politics of countries that we don't think meet the criteria that we've established for a successful liberal democracy. My view has long been, and this is the view of almost all realists, is that this is a prescription for disaster, that the United States should not be interfering in the politics of other countries unless it's absolutely necessary. And in fact, when you do that, it's going to backfire. Witness what happened to the Soviets when they were in Afghanistan. Witness what happened to us when we were in Afghanistan. Witness what happened to us in Vietnam and then later in Iraq. You want to stay out of these places. A realist like me says that what really matters are the other great powers in the system. And what you want to concern yourself with is the balance of power between the great powers or among the great powers. And you want your country to be as powerful as possible relative to all the other countries, because that's the best way to survive. So what you have, if you look at the historical record, is a situation where virtually all the realists opposed the Vietnam War, except for Henry Kissinger, who's not really much of a, or was not much of a realist. And almost all the realists, except for Henry Kissinger, opposed the Iraq War in 2003 as well. Steve Walt and I, two card-carrying realists, led the charge against the Iraq War in 2003. So again, this whole idea that we have a right and a responsibility to interfere in the politics of other countries around the world is just not a smart way to do business.
And you want to talk in arrogance? Oof. Well, I mean, we've witnessed the dangerous aspects of American arrogance all over the world. And it's going to come back. Oh, it's coming back to bite us, for sure. And we're seeing it. We are at war. Weather, the economy, illegal migrants, a whole lot of violence, the allowance of organized crime going on in our country. Defund the police? Let's just let Americans, let a whole lot, whether they're illegal migrants or Americans, just, okay, you're arrested, but you're out in an hour. Release back onto the street. We are at war. All of the poisons, all of the toxins, the weapons, the cell phones, the cell towers, the extremely low frequencies from Gwen towers, the antennas, satellites. We are at war. You cannot ever think that people who are evil will not turn against their own. Oh, they do it? No problem. Especially when the arrogance is so destructive that they have utter contempt for their own that they're supposed to be representing. And that's what we're up against. So 2 more minutes. I just want to say thank you for showing up. I'm going to do the lying, the insistence on lying. It's a big problem that we have within our own community. It needs to be addressed. So, do what you can to help people. If you're in these areas and you're close by, where people are being flooded out or burned out, or do what you can. Take a drive out. You'll see people out and about, trying to recover whatever they can recover. Ask them, you know, if you can do anything. Yeah. So, awareness. Be safe out there, and be very aware of your surroundings, because an awful lot is going on, as we know. And as you can see, an awful lot of people are getting hurt. So, let's be good soldiers, which means you take good action. And on that note, I do thank you for showing up. Thank you, Sandra, Christy, Roberta, and Inger, for your donations. And I hope to see you all tomorrow night. On that note, good night and good luck. Ciao, guys.